All right, let's dive in. Today we're taking a look at, well, a different kind of fantasy story.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking about Frieren, Beyond Journey's End, this anime series.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Yeah, you and me both, actually. We've got these excerpts from the Frieren Wikipedia page here. And wow, it seems like there's a lot to unpack. Elves, long lifespans, and all about what comes after the typical hero's journey. I'm definitely ready for this.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like it's not your average save the world the end kind of story.
Exactly.
It's really interesting how this series seems to focus on what happens afterward, especially through the eyes of Frieren. She's an elf, so she experiences time way differently than, well, pretty much anyone else.
Right. It's like the Wikipedia article mentions that decades feel like just moments for her.
Wow.
It's wild to think about, right? Imagine 10 years feeling like a weekend trip.
I can't even...
It really makes you wonder how someone who perceives time that way could even begin to think about relationships.
Yeah, especially knowing that you're going to outlive almost everyone you meet.
Exactly, yeah.
That's actually a big part of what the series explores emotionally. Frieren, at least in the beginning, is almost like an outsider. She was part of this huge quest, helped defeat the Demon King, the whole deal, but to her it was like a blink.
Wow.
And it's not until her human companion, Himmel, passes away that she starts to realize what she's been missing.
Like she's basically looking back on a highlight reel while everyone else was living through every single moment. No wonder she decides to go on this new quest, to try and reach the resting place of souls.
Yeah, it's like she's searching for something.
It's not just about seeing Himmel again. It's about understanding that human experience she was kind of, I don't know, immune to before.
Right, yeah. A journey of self-discovery disguised as a quest.
Exactly.
And she's not alone either.
Oh, right.
The article mentions she ends up traveling with Fern, an orphan who was adopted by one of her old comrades, and Stark, he's this young warrior who was trained by another companion of hers.
So she's got the legacy of her past surrounding her, but also these individuals who are just figuring out their own paths.
That's an interesting thought.
It's really cool how those new companions, I don't know, they can act like mirrors for Frieren's journey. Fern, with her youthfulness and constantly changing, it highlights that connection and growth that Frieren maybe didn't experience as much.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
And then there's Stark, trying to follow in his mentor's heroic footsteps, but also dealing with his own insecurities.
It's very relatable.
Totally relatable.
It's like he's reminding us that being a hero isn't always about these big actions.
Yeah.
It's about those inner battles, too.
Yeah.
And the Wikipedia article even mentions how all three of them, despite being so different, actually end up helping each other grow.
Oh, wow.
Fern's growth even influences Frieren, and Stark, even with his flaws, plays a role in shaping both of them.
It's like they're each a piece of this puzzle.
Yeah, helping each other see the bigger picture.
It's such a cool dynamic. It seems like we're just scratching the surface here. But before we really get into all the character stuff, it's worth pointing out that Frieren, Beyond Journey's End, started as something completely different.
You mean that thing about the demon gag manga?
Yep, imagine that. Slapstick humor turned into this exploration of life, loss, and connection. Talk about a creative shift.
Yeah, sometimes those detours lead to some pretty incredible things.
Seriously, it's a major plot twist for sure. And speaking of twists, did you know the title of the series has its own little backstory?
I'm all ears.
Apparently it was decided during an editorial meeting.
Really?
Yeah, with a 10,000 yen prize for whoever came up with the best one.
Wow, I wonder what other titles were considered.
Right. But the title they ended up with perfectly captures what the series is about.
It really does. It's about what happens after the adventure. The hero's journey ends, but life just keeps going. What does Frieren do with all that time, all those experiences? That's where things get really interesting.
That's where the story truly begins.
Exactly. It's definitely a story with a really rich backdrop. The Wikipedia article mentions this fantasy world, kind of like those classic RPGs, but it's not just some generic setting.
Oh, I see that.
The creators have woven in all this history, magic, lore, you name it. It gives Frieren's journey way more depth.
They took the classic elves, magic, quests, all that stuff, and gave it this really, I don't know, melancholic beauty. You get these glimpses of Ancient spells,
Yeah.
lost civilizations, consequences of choices that were made ages ago.
Yeah, it really makes you feel the weight of the world.
Like it has a history that goes way beyond what we're seeing in the story itself.
Right, and that history is a huge part of the characters' own journeys. It's not just some random background. It shapes how they see things, the choices they make, everything. It shows they're part of something so much bigger.
You know, one thing that really struck me was how this series explores the whole idea of legacy. Like the things Frieren has done in the past, good and bad, they're still having an impact.
It's true, yeah.
She meets people who were affected by her past, some directly, some not. It makes her face the consequences of her actions.
Like she keeps bumping into these echoes of her past self, reminders of everything she's been through and the decisions she's made along the way.
It makes you think about your own life, right? What kind of legacy are we leaving behind?
Deep stuff.
I know, right? But it's those questions that make Frieren so captivating. It's more than just a fun adventure. It really digs into human nature, how relationships work, and the power of connection.
It also does it all with some amazing art, too.
Oh, absolutely.
The Wikipedia article mentions how much praise the manga's artwork gets, and it makes sense when you see it.
Tsukasa Abe's illustrations have this delicate, almost ethereal feel to them. It's perfect for the tone of Frieren's world.
Well,
You
yeah.
can really see the passage of time in every line, every shadow.
Yeah. And then they brought that artistry to the screen so well, too.
Right. The anime did a fantastic job.
The Wikipedia article mentions that people were blown away by the visuals and how faithfully they adapted everything. And of course, that emotional storytelling, too.
Madhouse, the studio that animated it, they're known for making amazing stuff. And they really went above and beyond with Frieren. Those colors, the way everything moves, the detail, it's breathtaking.
They nailed it. Oh, and the music. We can't forget about the music.
Right, the music, it's beautiful.
The composer, Evan Call, created this soundtrack that's just perfect for the emotional depth of the story. Like a mix of orchestral and folk music, it gives you this sense of wonder, longing, and the passage of time.
It really sticks with you, those haunting melodies. It's all about loss, memories, searching for meaning.
You can tell the team behind the anime really understands the source material. They captured the essence of Frieren in a way that's stunning to look at and emotionally powerful.
You know, for all the serious stuff we've been talking about,
Yeah.
the show still has its funny moments, too.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
There are scenes that are genuinely funny, often because of Frieren's unique perspective.
Yeah, the way she tries to understand human behavior is sometimes so awkward and hilarious.
It's a great balance, you know?
Mhm.
They weave in those lighter moments without taking away from the emotional impact. It's like a reminder that even when life gets complicated and we face loss, there's still room for laughter.
And that humor makes the characters even more relatable, too.
Totally. They're not just these serious figures. They're flawed, quirky people who mess up sometimes and find humor in the unexpected.
It just shows how good the writers are at making these characters feel real. They have so much depth and personality, it's easy to get drawn into their world.
It's true. We've been focusing a lot on Frieren, but we can't forget about Fern and Stark.
Yeah, those relationships are key.
The Wikipedia article hints at how their connections with Frieren aren't just one-sided.
Oh, definitely not.
They really shape her understanding of what it means to be human.
Fern's youthful innocence and that ever-changing energy of hers represents the growth and connection that Frieren maybe missed out on. She's like a constant reminder of how beautiful and wonderful the world can be.
It's like Frieren's rediscovering that through Fern.
Exactly. And then Stark, with all his flaws and vulnerabilities, he shows Frieren that even heroes are human.
He proves that real courage isn't about being fearless. It's about facing your fears head on.
It's about doing the right thing, even when it's hard.
Absolutely. You know, their interactions with Frieren are often what push her to grow.
Yeah. They challenge her, get her out of her comfort zone, make her confront her feelings.
And it's not just Frieren learning from them either. They learn from her, too.
Oh, totally. Fern gets wisdom and guidance from Frieren's long life, while Stark learns about the real meaning of courage and sacrifice.
It's such a good example of how relationships, even short-lived ones, can have such a big impact on who we become.
Yeah, and how we see the world. We've covered a lot in this deep dive so far, but there's still more to explore.
Oh yeah, definitely. The world of Frieren is massive, and the characters' journeys are so complex and thought-provoking.
It's true. And even though we've touched on the main themes and what makes the series so special, there's always more to discover.
That's what makes this so rewarding. It's not just summarizing the Wikipedia article. It's really engaging with it, making connections, sharing our own thoughts.
Yeah, like a conversation, a shared journey.
Exactly. And we're not done yet. There's still more to discuss. A few more things to uncover from the Wikipedia article.
All right, let's keep diving in then. Let's see what else we can find in the world of Frieren, beyond Journey's End.
It's amazing how much detail the creators put into even the smallest things. Like, we're learning all this from just the Frieren Wikipedia page. It's not just about the big themes, it's those tiny things that make the characters and the world feel real.
It's true, yeah. Like how Fern is written so she acts a little differently around each person.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
With Frieren, it's like a mother-daughter thing. But with Stark, she's way more playful, even a bit flustered sometimes.
It's subtle, but it says a lot about how she's figuring herself out, being surrounded by such strong personalities.
Definitely. And speaking of Stark, I thought this was interesting. The article mentions that even though he can be a bit of a coward sometimes, the writers made sure he was visually appealing.
Oh, like they designed him that way on purpose?
Yeah, it seems like it. Like his good looks are part of his character, and it makes you wonder how that affects things between the three of them.
It's an interesting thought, like maybe even those superficial things have a meaning.
Right. It could be that Stark's charm, whether he means it or not, changes how Fern sees him. Maybe even Frieren a little.
It's like another layer to their relationship.
Yeah.
A reminder that things aren't always so simple.
Exactly. It feels like we're getting a master class in character development here.
It really does.
Yeah.
Everything from little quirks to their looks, it all seems carefully thought out. It all adds to the story. And it's not just about individual characters, it's how they connect, how they grow together.
Right. They all influence each other's journeys. And the article mentions these 5 spin-off chapters, too.
Oh yeah, the one-shots.
Yeah. They focus on other characters, giving us a peek into different parts of the Frieren world.
Like little bonus stories, expanding on the world. You can tell they really put a lot of effort into creating a world that feels alive, where even the side characters have their own stories.
And those stories often tie back to the main themes of the series. Time, mortality, how we affect others. It's like those short glimpses into other lives remind us that the past is always present. It shapes the world and how the characters move through it.
It's a powerful reminder that even in a fantasy world, our choices matter. They have consequences that ripple through time. It adds so much weight to the story.
It really makes you think about the impact we have. And going back to that question we asked before, if you lived as long as Frieren, what would you do? Would you embrace those short-lived connections, knowing you'll experience that loss? Or would you avoid it, protecting yourself from the pain, but maybe missing out on all those experiences?
It's a tough question. And the series really explores it in a deep way. There's no right answer. It's up to each person to decide. But Frieren's journey, how she navigates those tough choices and learns to embrace both the joy and sadness of connection, it gives us a powerful perspective on living a meaningful life, even when we know our time is limited.
It's a message that goes beyond just fantasy. It makes you appreciate the time we have, to value the connections we make, and to try to leave the world a little better than we found it. Even if it's just a small act of kindness, it all makes a difference in the end.
So well said. And with that, I think we've reached the end of our deep dive in Frieren, Beyond Journey's End. It's been a blast exploring this series and everything that makes it special.
We hope this deep dive inspires you to find your own moments of wonder, to think about what time and connection mean to you. Maybe even revisit the series with fresh eyes and see what new insights you can find. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep into those stories that really spark your imagination.